Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning for the 2018 Coming of Age ceremony. After teaching this Coming of Age class several times, I have come to understand that the purpose of this class is not simply to guide 7th and 8th graders through the process of writing a faith statement. The class also provides students with the opportunity to learn about the gray areas of faith and to begin to accept and understand that this gray area looks different for each individual. The faith statements you will hear today are as unique as each author. My mother, a true product of the 60s, used to turn to the product Khalil Gibran to help her better understand the gray areas of life. So today's reading is from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet on Religion. And an old priest said, "Speak to us of religion." And he said, "Have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? And that which is neither deed nor reflection, but a wonder and a surprise, ever springing in the soul, even while the hands hew the stone or tend the loom? Who can prepare his faith from his actions, or his belief from his occupations? Who can spread his hours before him, saying, 'This is for God, this for myself, this for my soul, and this other for my body'? All your hours are wings that beat through space, from self to self. He who wears his morality, but as his best garment, were better naked. The sun and the wind will tear no holes in his skin. And he who defines his conduct by ethics imprisons his songbird in a cage. The freest song comes not from bars and wires, and he to whom worshiping is a window, to open but also to shut, has not yet visited the house of his soul, whose windows are from dawn to dawn. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. Take the plow and the forge and the mallet and the lute, the things you have fashioned in necessity or for delight. For in reverie you cannot rise above your achievements, nor fall lower than your failures. And take with you all men. For in adoration you cannot fly higher than their hopes, nor humble yourself lower than their despair. And if you would know God, be not therefore a solver of riddles. Rather, look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children. And look into space, and you shall see him walking in the cloud, outstretching his arms in the lightning and descending in the rain. You shall see him smiling in flowers, then rising and waving his hands in trees. Thank you.
Good morning, and I wish to also extend my welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City this morning for our very special Coming of Age worship. If you are a guest here today, it's a wonderful day to be here, because how better to hear about Unitarian Universalism than from our youth? We begin our worship service with the lighting of the chalice, symbol of light and of knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice together as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and let us sing together number 134. Most of our speakers this morning are youth who are just finishing up the Coming of Age program as part of their religious education. I'll introduce them in small groups, and they'll be introduced in turn by their mentors who have been working with them all year. We also hope to hear from a couple of our high school youth who finished the program a few years ago and hear how they've grown since that time. Our first two speakers, Gage Quinn, introduced by his mentor, Peter Esco, and then Hunter Pinales, introduced by his mentor, David Lyman.
Good morning. I've had the great pleasure of working with Gage Quinn for the past few weeks. He is an amazing young man who, with the help of his family, has a tremendous thirst to explore everything the world around him has to offer. If nothing else, Gage was tremendously patient and put up with references to Greek philosophers and lots of talk of outdoor spaces as we explored his personal definition of what faith means. I cannot wait to see the way that Gage embraces the fluidity and ever-changing nature of the world around us in the next few years. I'm sure that with his growing independence and love of community, it will take him to incredible places.
Hello, my name is Gage Quinn. I've been going to the Unitarian Church my entire life. I've also been going on river trips my entire life. Going on river trips has been a big part of my life. It's about spending time with family away from distractions. One time we saw a bald eagle swoop down right in front of us and catch a fish out of the river. How cool! Since the river is such a big part of my life, it was the first thing that came to mind when writing my faith statement. There is an ancient philosopher named Heraclitus who said that life is like a river. He said that we both step and do not step in the same rivers. We are and we are not. My interpretation of this is he is saying that change is a part of life. Life is always changing, and we have to accept that. And we are always changing as people. We can learn from our experiences and become better people. And with our experiences, our faith grows and changes. Who all has been on the river? And who all has ever experienced the sense of community on a river trip? I find that my faith is a lot like a river trip. When planning and preparing for a river trip, everyone helps, and everyone has specific jobs. It's hard when one person is responsible for everything. No single person can get everything ready, plan for the food, cook, and set and take down camp. The trust that is built on a river is found in community, and knowing that everyone will pull their own weight. We need to trust each other, to do ourselves, and not give up. When helping someone, it feels good and lets them know that they are important. When on the river, your attitude affects everyone around you. If you're grumpy, everyone gets dragged down. But with a good attitude, you can lift everyone else up. On the river, you are there both on your own and in a larger community. You have to make decisions for yourself, but the decisions you can make can affect others. On good days, you can roll over giant waves, and there are no rocks to stop you. But on bad days, you can get caught in a big hole and wait for it to spit you out. I've fallen in the same spot on the river a couple of times. The first time, it was very scary. After the first time, I had more confidence that things would work out. I could trust that people would be there for me if I needed them. You always have to remember that life is bumpy, just like the river. A river can be many things. It can be scary. It can have unknown areas. Different water levels create new rapids or smooth water. You have to accept that the river is always moving, so you have to keep moving with it. All these things, community, adventure, challenges, not giving up, staying positive, independence, and trust are all part of the river and part of my faith.
My name is David Lyman, and I have had the good fortune and simple pleasure of associating with Hunter Penales during these last several weeks while he has prepared for this coming-of-age ceremony. Hunter is 12 years of age, but as is often the case with teenagers, he is really somewhere between the ages of 12 and 25. He is affable, outspoken, daring, mischievous, creative, generous, and easygoing with his friendship, and he's also very kind. Technically speaking, I have been a mentor in this process, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I feel Hunter has taught me. He, with his youthful perspective and naivete, which in truth is optimism and bold courage, has reminded me of some important ways to live. You know, we are all students and we are all teachers. And with Hunter and his peers developing and coming into their own on this world stage, I have a greater hope for our future. So I cede the time to you.
Thank you, David. Hello, my name is Hunter Penales. There are three main things I believe in: being yourself, following your passion, and freedom of expression. I will be dancing to Say Something by A Great Big World featuring Christina Aguilera. I am sharing this with you today because I hope to inspire you.
Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'll be the one if you want me to. Anywhere I would have followed you. Say something, I'm giving up on you. And I am feeling so small. It was over my head. I know nothing at all. And I will stumble and fall. I'm still learning to love, just starting to crawl. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you.
I believe I'm uncontrolled by others. I am the master of my own destiny. Without you or me, the world would have a little less color. It gets darker and a little less of everything. On the other hand, with all of our unique selves expressing our passions, the world is way better. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for your time watching me dance and speak. David, Heather, please stand up. That's right. I couldn't have done it without you too. Even though, Heather, you were not my mentor, you did help me put my beliefs in this. Thanks for helping me vocalize my beliefs in ways I couldn't before.
Our next students will be Isaac Black with his mentor, Lee Stanhope, followed by Silas Grizel with his mentor, Skip Reinerson, and finally Victor Foster with his mentor, Frank Steffi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, it is my privilege to introduce Isaac Black. Isaac is a young man who began attending the Unitarian religious education about 2 years ago, since after growing up Mormon. And he's especially appreciates that Unitarians welcome all to join with them, and that you're welcome to believe whatever you choose to believe. And finally, that this is a safe place for all to come and learn. So now, Isaac would like to talk to you a little about his dreams and what's important to him as he grows up and looks to the future.
Hello, I'm Isaac Black, and I'd like to tell you a little about my love of science, nature, and especially the dinosaurs. Cool. My dream is to one day become a paleontologist. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. I love to learn about nature, the present, and the past by reading books, doing internet searches, and by watching well-made documentaries. I especially recommend the BBC productions Planet Dinosaur, Blue Planet, Life in Cold Blood, and the list goes on. Something I love about nature is to see how all the animals and plants play their part in creating ecosystems. I especially like to view and understand animals that are often misunderstood or feared, such as spiders, which help control insects, snakes, which eat rodents, or scavengers, such as vultures, which help clean up the environment. I'd like to invite you all to come up to the Natural History Museum, where I volunteer every week on Tuesday mornings, somewhere around 9:30. In the Past Worlds Gallery, I'd like to share with you what I know of dinosaurs, what they were like, how they lived, and what the environment that they lived in was like. And one day, I hope you'll come visit me when I'm working in the Paleo Lab, researching to provide the world with better understanding of how plants and animals of different eras work together to create their environments. Thank you for welcoming me to the Unitarian Church and for this opportunity to speak to you.
After hearing Isaac speak in the 9 a.m. service, I was like, how do I follow that? Not nearly as entertaining myself, but I'd like to introduce you to Silas Grizel. Silas, like many of his peers, enjoys the simple pleasures of movies, TV, and video games, and is also a young man of few words, of shy manner, but of deep thoughts and deep connection with humanity and the earth. Though I pride myself for being adept at deep thinking, perhaps more than I should, I must admit that Silas has provoked me to reflect again and anew several times. He's also someone who has an appreciation for the wonders and the majesty of science and discovery. A personal hero of Silas's is the inimitable Albert Einstein, who himself captured one of the very best parts of the Coming of Age program when he said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science." Sharing now some of the mystery that is himself, Silas Grizel.
In the book The Martian, a team of astronauts head off to Mars as part of the Ares 3 mission. However, when a large dust storm hits, the team is forced to abandon their base and head back to Earth. While walking to the ship, botanist Mark Watney is hit by a large piece of debris and was assumed to be dead by the rest of the team. The team decided to leave him since he was nowhere to be found. Mark, however, did not die, and later woke up to find that the debris did not go very far to his body or suit, and blood had sealed the wound. He had to survive for hundreds of days alone on this planet following that. Where did we come from? We came from our parents, of course, and their parents, and theirs, and so on. We came from the cities we live in, states, countries, as well as the culture and people around us. You may sit back and wonder about the world, why perhaps politics are so awful, or why wars happen, decide that maybe some rich man decided it to be that way. You must remember that all people have free will, even within a war. Every soldier is an individual and decides to fight. No matter the pressures, it is still yours and his decision to do anything. You may think war is proof that humans are violent. As many do, you say it as if you are not human. But the truth is, you are not special. And if you have thought it, chances are millions of others agree. So if people are not violent, then why do these things happen? Because while humans are not naturally self-centered humans naturally become powerful. If you only want riches and power, then that is what you will get. Look through the past and remember that in every war and every event, every person involved chose to do what they did. Every single human has free will and the power to choose what they do. History turned us into what we are, and history is like the present, countless people making countless choices. I believe that when you die, you are just dead. So you must savor the life. You must savor life in what you must savor the life you have. However, you must make sure to not romanticize the past and recognize your own abilities during life. You do not have power. You cannot make laws or probably much change at all. However, you can speak, and maybe someone with that power will happen to agree with you. And when it comes to how history will see us, we are going wherever we work to go. Why are we here? We are here because of all that came before us, because life happened to be on earth. There is no set meaning to your life, and you must make it for yourself and forge your own path. Choose the path that will help others and generations that follow, as that is the most rewarding path. If you think about it, life is sort of like The Martian. It shows preservance of the common man while still being able to choose the most empathetic path. And each of us can persevere, even if the challenge we are given is surviving on a barren planet by just growing potatoes on the floor.
Good morning, I'm Frank Steffi. I finally get to experience the view from the God box. Wow, special. I'd like to introduce Victor Foster, a young man of very few words, but definitely profound thoughts. Victor and his family moved back to Utah from England about 3.5 years ago. Victor has a passion for music and plays the piano, guitar, and violin. He also likes challenges reading and is currently immersed in Homer's Odyssey. It's been a treat to watch Victor struggle with his faith statement, something I never would have tried to do in the 8th grade. But that says a lot of good things about our community. We have questions for others' answers. We value critical thinking and the ongoing search for truth and wisdom. And we walk the talk on social justice issues. And Victor embodies these values.
Hello. I've never been completely positive on what my beliefs are, but I've always thought that you should pursue whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt others, and being empathetic is very important. Personally, I think anything is possible, and you can believe whatever you want as long as you don't force it on others. My personal beliefs on God and religion are that since there is no real evidence supporting there is a God or gods is possible, but it's equally possible that there isn't. When life ends, I think any possibility could happen, and we have no way of knowing what will happen, so we should make the most of our lives here, dedicating time to being happy, even if that means dedicating your life to religion, as long as it makes you happy. I'm living my life to be happy and take care of the planet and others, not to gain anything for another life after my own ends. It is very hard to find answers for everything, and that's okay. Life would probably be a lot less interesting if there was a sure answer for everything. It is good to challenge your own beliefs and go out of our comfort zones. The religious education program has been a great help to me when I was confused and unsatisfied with my beliefs. My favorite thing about it is that it has no dogma or guidelines, except for the 7 Unitarian principles, including being kind and accepting of others. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite one of our coming-of-age teachers, Carrie Black, to share a reflection. And then Katie Nolan, who is one of our high school students, will share how far she's come since she was in coming of age.
In 1993, George Ella Lyon published a poem entitled I Am From, an exploration of cause and effect, of upbringing and influence and informing. It was a declaration of individual result and universal truth. We are all from somewhere. Events, socioeconomic status, neighbors, culture, religion, parents or lack thereof, chance, decisions, opportunities both offered and denied, terror, shame, love, rejection, friendship, justice, injustice. The lists that shape us are endless, things external and internal, seen and unseen. Woven together, they become us in all our mad glory, the continuous gyrations of the spectrum of accountability, the making and remaking of our best, what we are gifted and what we make. Coming of age is about recognizing where we come from and where we choose to go next, about noticing and deliberate choice. As UUs and custodians of our own faith, we choose and choose again. We notice, take on new information, think, and sometimes we even change our minds and our behavior. Before coming of age, we spent an abundance of time exploring what others believe. This year, we spent our energies on exploring our own beliefs. What motivates, guides, illuminates, and inspires me. Aware as I can be of the biases handed to me by my culture, my family, my upbringing, etc., ad nauseum, where do I draw strength enough to be properly human and properly myself? George L. Lyon's I Am From has resonated with many, many people. Enough that there is a project of the same name gathering hundreds of versions of the ageless story, This Is Who I Am. Just a few weeks ago in class, Paul guided us all through producing our own versions of I Am From. Some of that work made it into faith statements, and some of it was only voiced internally. It was all worthwhile. Exploration and becoming. As we come of age, we focus and formalize our faith journey. I started mine when I was almost 40. You all have an admirable head start. Impressed doesn't begin to cover how I feel about all of you. My Sundays have been delightful, thought-provoking, and inspiring because I got to spend them with you, the coming of age class of 2018. Finally, as evidence that I was paying attention and willing to take on all the tasks I asked of you, here is my take on I Am From. I am from darkness and not speaking. Never say what is true. Never ask. Hold still until the beating stops. I am from long walks and noticing. Tiny beetles, bracket fungus, looking up the new plant, finding out. I am from the dirt, the sun, the rain. The plants that grow when tended, sweet peas still wet with dew. The plants that spring up independent, dandelions leaving yellow streaks on my arm. I am from the future, the changing, the striving, the difference between the hell that was and the light of now. Incredible things can be done with a willingness to change. This I believe.
Hello, everybody. My name is Katie Nolan, and I am a high school senior. So 2 weeks ago, Alyssa asked me to come here and reflect on my faith statement. So a lot has changed since 8th grade when I read my statement. The biggest change has been that I've been accepted to Stanford University. Thank you. And how I definitely couldn't have done it without this congregation. And one of the reasons why is because I chose to write my Common App essay, which is the biggest essay that I wrote for Stanford about my faith statement journey. So here's the essay prompt. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So just to clarify, I'm going to be reading the essay that I sent to Stanford. So, every Sunday morning, I attend church in an old classroom full of worn-out couches, whimsical throw pillows, and beanbag chairs. Below the room is a small chapel, but the lack of Bibles, crosses, or any holy objects sets apart this Sunday sanctuary from what most people think of when they hear the word church. And unlike in many religions, my beliefs don't stem from ancient texts or the ideas of my parents, ancestors, or even church leader. My beliefs come from a collection of paper scraps, equally as eclectic as the classroom where I began to amass them. Unconventional belief systems and decor are not uncommon in my religion, Unitarian Universalism, where I am encouraged to use the world as my scriptures, to study philosophy, history, nature, other people, and other religions in order to craft my own belief system. Moving from childhood to adulthood in this faith began when my Sunday school class was asked to do just this: determine what we each believe to be true about life, death, and the world. This search was a team effort. We spent the year discussing philosophy, politics, ethics, and spirituality, reading literature, watching movies, learning about social movements, and listening to everyone's unique viewpoints. Every Sunday, I wrote down what I learned from our discussion on a scrap of paper and slipped it into an envelope. Sometimes I scribbled down small things like, I think I'm agnostic, and sometimes I wrote detailed notes about philosophy or how to connect with people who believe differently than me. At the end of the year, I gathered each tidbit and assembled them into a speech for the congregation explaining my beliefs. And so, on a rainy April Sunday, I approached the pulpit and smoothed out the paper containing my carefully crafted words. Looking out nervously over the pews, I told my church community that, in all honesty, I still didn't know. I confessed, there are so many questions I can barely begin to answer. Do I believe in God? What makes life worth living? What will happen to me after I die? Others can answer these with a period at the end of their sentence, but I always find a question mark at the end of mine. I recounted all the learning I did, the friendships I made, the sleep I lost waking up early on Sunday, but I couldn't tell them I had found the truth. After the service, many in my congregation approached me and said that they experienced the same thing. Instead of being disappointed in my lack of answers, they welcomed me. Something clicked for me then. Becoming an adult in my faith was less about finding the truth and more about learning how to search for it through compassion, curiosity, and careful listening. I realized that although my coming-of-age journey was about to end, my quest to find truth and meaning was just getting started. My fascination with the world and desire to learn has persisted since this quest began, and although my knowledge has grown as a result, so has my list of questions. My experience searching for and articulating the truth and meaning in my life has taught me not to fear those questions, however, but to look for their answers and embrace the ones I receive in all their complexity. I still wake up early-ish on Sundays, despite the stress of senior year, and I still consolidate my thoughts into faith statements that I occasionally share with friends, and more occasionally the bathroom mirror. With each revision, I am a little closer to understanding my world and the things that give my life meaning. I have never given up on those little paper scraps either. Each one contains a little piece of knowledge, a little piece of truth, and a little piece of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I offer you the gift this morning of no announcements. In return, what I ask is that you read over the announcements which are in your order of service and give us the grace of maybe a couple extra minutes on the service today. At this time, I invite you to greet your neighbors, friends, and especially visitors who are next to you as the offering is gratefully received. We will now hear faith statements from Grayson Page, introduced by Heather Heaton, her mentor, by Rosalie Watkins, introduced by Katie Swade, her mentor, Dylan Anderson, introduced by Paul Kuttner, and Nani Mitchell, introduced by Thea Holcomb. But first, introducing them all will be a reading by our coming-of-age teacher, Caden Colton.
Good morning. My name is Caden Colton, and as Monica said, I am one of the coming of age teachers this year, and I would like to share a short reading with you all. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warmly upon your face. May the rain fall softly upon your fields. And until we meet again, may the universe hold you in the palm of its hand.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Heaton, and I have had the pleasure of working with Grayson Page as she's developed her faith statement. She's had the good fortune to grow up here in the Unitarian Church, and she is a spirited and confident young lady who knows exactly who she is and what she believes in. She's also consistently open to hearing new ideas and perspectives, and over the past several weeks, we've had some in-depth discussions and asked each other many questions about religion, faith, culture, and politics. And I dare say that I've learned just as much from her as she has from me. As she makes her way through life, you can be sure that Grayson will make waves as a formidable force, full of individuality and conviction. She's full of fire, and today you will get to catch a glimpse of the spark within her soul that has impressed me immensely over the past few months.
Hi, I'm Grayson Page, or as most of you guys know me as, Michelle and Sue's daughter. Today, for my faith statement, I'll be talking about the basic rights that I think all people should have. Over the past couple months, more and more controversial topics have come up in society, such as police brutality and the Me Too movement, started by Taryn Burke. Those people are examples of things that have changed and even been in big news in today's society, but also correlate in my faith beliefs. My personal belief is atheist. I don't believe in a higher power or someone who has formed the world up in a further universe. But I do believe in getting to know someone's soul and mindset for who they are. I do believe in humanity, though. What humanity means to me is that every human being should be treated with the same respect no matter what race or religion they are. It shouldn't matter because at the end of the day, we're all trying to live our own lives. There's a famous Hindu teaching that says there are hundreds of paths up the mountain, all leading in the same direction, so it doesn't matter which path you take. The only one wasting time is the one who runs around the mountain telling everyone that his or her path is wrong. What that quote means for me is that everyone is going up their own path in life, and there's no point in trying to tear someone down while you're trying to figure out your own path too. As part of being a Unitarian Universalist, it's helped me figure out what I believe in an open space and helped me be aware of social issues and standing up for others. Earlier in my statement, I mentioned two important topics to me, police brutality and the Me Too movement. Both of these topics are an example of how people need to stand up for each other and what's right and not be afraid to let their voices be heard. An important aspect of humanity is connecting with those around you and making sure that injustices are righted, and in order to do that, we cannot stay silent. What basic rights I think everyone should have is not being afraid of sexual assault anywhere or being afraid when they're walking down the street thinking is anything going to happen to them, or even when they're going to school and if something could possibly happen to them while they're just trying to get an education. And everyone having the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which means people being able to come from other places for safety or being who they are and what they believe in, without any worries. All of those things and many more show what I think basic humanity is and how it can play a role in today's world and the many years to come. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Katie Swade, and today I have the wonderful pleasure of introducing Rosalie. I wasn't sure what to expect when agreeing to be part of this coming-of-age process, but Rosalie has way surpassed any expectation I could have had for an individual of honestly any age to be able to think about some really tough questions, specifically about how we all fit together in the universe. On the surface, Rosalie may seem a little shy, maybe a little bit more reserved, but once we got chatting together, she really showed me how intelligent and thoughtful and funny she is. She's so thoughtful that it took her quite a few drafts to be able to think about this and put it all together. So Rosalie, I want to thank you for your hard work on this statement and for letting me take on the experience with you. It's really been delightful to get to know you, and I'm so excited for you to share your words today.
After going through this program for a while, any conclusions that I have come to are pretty much the same as I could have if I got bored enough and decided to think about it rather than take responsibility for something. I am, in fact, quite the procrastinator, so I have done this multiple times. So, yeah. So, no new surprises there. What I have started to see differently is what I believe in contrast to what others believe. I've seen significant differences between people's thought processes and perspectives. Hearing what other people think really put me off my game, because I had always seen what I believed to just be pure logic, mainly because it is based in science. Then I met people who genuinely believe in a higher power, who believe in fate, who live by specific rules they have set for themselves, sometimes completely subconsciously. All I could think was why, quickly followed by that is an individual human being. If what they do doesn't disrespect or hurt anyone, then they can do what they want. I wanted to be able to understand how they'd come to that conclusion nonetheless. On a more broad scale, I wanted to understand what formed someone else's perspective. When I started thinking about it as perspective rather than a belief, so many new points showed up, so many new perspectives outside of religion. The perspective and context that people gained from almost completely unrelated things was genuinely amazing, creating our unique views with a strange network of experiences. So now I had found a variable. Now to isolate it so I can figure out what exactly it is, except I have no idea what the rest of the equation looks like. And even if I did, I couldn't remove it because that would ruin the context. Perspective does not function like a math problem, to some's joy and my dismay. But I still wanted to know what my individuality was most defined by. So what forms our perspectives? Experiences. I'm not talking about those great life-changing ones either. Just those little things we get so used to that we don't realize it's any different for others. Surprisingly, small things become big parts of our perspective and context. Fun thing, just one class period of being overly flamboyant and embracing some random emotions, making puns, jokes, references, and boom, you can see quite clearly what a room of condescending middle schoolers looks like. Along with find out who gets the references, who appreciates the puns, and identify that one person who will laugh at almost anything. I could see exactly what context they associated those actions with. A fun and easy experiment that I most certainly regret, but that was to be expected. Given this, why do bad things happen? Well, generally physics, natural phenomena, and other people's bad choices. Fairly simple, really. I don't see the need for deeper meaning when facts are right there. Though, really, it's because we have had better experiences. If our whole lives had been this kind of thing, it wouldn't seem bad in the slightest, just an unpleasant norm. Essentially, bad things happen because we categorize them as bad. So, what do I think makes me different? I honestly have no idea. As I see from my own perspective, I end up using it as a base point. But that causes the importance of certain things to get glossed over. I most certainly cannot fully understand other people's points of view. It causes me to become closer to people with certain similar values to myself, just because I can understand them better. At this point, however, I see that I've definitely changed since I first met my current friends. People change, but not because they gave up random values for no reason, because new things have happened, making the context different, adding a new fact, or just putting the old value at a different level of importance. Thus, how they are still my friends. Our perspectives have taken similar changing points to result in even more similar understanding perspectives, respectively. Yet, I don't believe that I know exactly how my friends of many years think. Half the time, I can barely tell what I think. I value individuality a lot, regardless of the fact that I can't really tell what exactly makes me different from others, if at all. Everyone believes that what they true. Though it can change at any one point, what they believe is true to them at the very least. So what's true to me is what I can prove. As much as I would like to be sure what exists, I can only know how it is from my perspective. All I know is that there are plenty of things I don't understand, and maybe never will. I could look back on this some years from now and think, that's kind of pointless, or you had a good point, bro. I can't really say. As of right now, I appreciate my perspective, even if sometimes it feels like an existential crisis wrapped in a conspiracy theory.
Hello. My name is Paul Kuttner, and I have had the privilege this past year of co-teaching the Coming of Age course with this fabulous group of youth mentors and teachers. It was a very meaningful experience for me personally, because 26 years ago, I was in the Coming of Age program in the Unitarian church that I grew up in. I remember it as a time of self-exploration. I was given the gift of space to figure out, amid all the warring theologies and ideologies and expectations around me, what exactly I believed in. But importantly, I didn't have to do that exploration by myself. I was doing it with my friends and some thoughtful adult mentors. I was doing it in community. In that way, I think that coming of age gets at the core of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. We believe that every individual should have the space to chart their own path through faith and belief. And we also believe in the interconnectedness of all people and all things. We believe in the search for individual meaning, but we understand that that search takes place within community. I am privileged today to introduce our next speaker, Dylan Anderson, who I think really captured the spirit of coming of age in the way that he engaged with the class throughout the year. He was thoughtful and kind. He spoke when he had an idea, and he listened when others chimed in. He had a quiet kind of leadership. Without taking over conversations, he helped to guide the class discussions to thoughtful areas of complexity and questioning. Though he was on his own journey, he supported the program as a whole. He was sometimes late to class, but he was after all downstairs raising money for the group's trip to Boston, so I suppose we can let it slide. Dylan also captures the spirit of coming of age in his faith statement, as you'll hear. He's done the hard work of struggling with what he believes. He did not assume that the ideas he came in with would be what he left with. He listened to all the many different mentors he had over the course of the spring, and then he came out with something wholly unique and all his own. And what he says speaks to me on a very personal level as someone who comes to Unitarian Universalism for the community and who has a soft spot for anyone who can spit a good rhyme.
So before I start reading my poem that I wrote as my faith statement, I just kind of want to touch on a few things. Like Paul said, I had a few different mentors that kind of jumped around from person to person with Kristen, Skip, and Paul helping me a lot. But I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed our coming of age program this year, and it really helped me narrow down a lot of my core beliefs and things that I think are important, like nature and just kind of outdoors, I guess, mainly. So, so here's my faith poem. So, the past few weeks we've talked so much, though I feel I've used our time like a crutch. What I mean is that to narrow my beliefs, I've just relied on others to provide some relief. Instead of really giving it much thought, I sort of let myself get caught. No doubt in my mind that I had fun, but with my first thoughts I tried to run. I just wrote down what I kind of believed, but I realized how little I had achieved. My beliefs were still mostly scattered. But then I decided amongst my thoughts tattered that what I really believe in is community, how it feels to be a part of our unity. So right here with all of you surrounding, it gives comfort you wouldn't believe. Because regardless of how I may feel at odds about afterlives, our world, or even God's, to have a group of friends and family is all I need for now, truly. But beyond that, I'm just not sure. Maybe I need to be more mature. Because if I ever want to feel complete and at peace with all of my beliefs, I think I just need more time and experience, so that one day I'll proudly stand and pronounce my beliefs oh so grand. But today is not that day.
My name is Thea Holcomb, and I've had the honor this spring of mentoring Nani throughout the process of writing her faith statement. The fourth principle of our Unitarian Universalist tradition is we affirm and promote the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And throughout this process, it was so clear that Nani really chooses to live her life and to write her faith statement in a way that affirms that principle. She approached her faith statement with a spirit of generous curiosity and was so willing to think about her past and her future and how those things are coming into her belief systems as she wrote this faith statement. So I think a lot of times when we talk about young people who are as thoughtful and driven and caring as Nani, we love to say, oh, she's wise beyond her years. And in truth, I'm not going to deny that. Nani's wise beyond her years. But there's also something more. I think she has this really unique and valuable understanding of her power as a young person and what it means to be young and capable as someone who's coming of age. And that's absolutely, as a 19-year-old Unitarian Universalist, a lesson I could stand to learn myself, so thank you, Nani. So in the spirit of the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, it is my honor to introduce you to Nani Mitchell.
Hi, I'm Anna Mitchell, and this is my faith statement. I am from small sour plums that my dog used to eat. I am from cuddles on the floor of my school's hallway. Because of these memories, I believe that the small plum tree and the smiles of my friends can shape and mold me into someone who sees how important those smiles are. I'm from friendships filled with happiness forced from depression. I'm from a whipped cream-faced sister whose hugs are the opposite of her attitude. Because of the good, even if forced, push through the hurt and the bad, I believe in finding a good side to almost everything, even if it's a little naive. I am from switching sides from no side at all. I'm from walls and borders, circles and squares, and a black and white screen that only looks gray to me. Because I believe in gray, the very walls we think we need between us are proof that we're not as different as we're told. I'm from changing friendships and sexualities. I'm from answers with questions. Because my friends and my communities are always being shaped by their own beliefs, I believe that they will be there for me as I change too. Because of my friends' smiles and my sister's hugs and the walls we build and the people I know I can trust, I am me, with my beliefs and my story that only I can tell. Because of everything I've been through, good and bad, I am me. And for the most part, I'm okay with that.
Well, on behalf of the ministers and the religious education professionals of our congregation, I want to thank you all for attending our biannual Coming of Age service and for honoring these youth with your attention and support. Yesterday, I attended the rehearsal for this service and heard some of these faith statements for the first time,
and heard others that had clearly been revised since I first heard them, these women and men are struggling daily with their questions of faith. And what I want you to know is that struggle never goes away. The moment when you have it all figured out will never come. As we grow and change, as life happens to us, the experiences of each day will confirm our convictions and make us question everything we knew over and over again. Isn't that, after all, why we come to church in the first place? When we need reassurance, when we have questions we can't answer, when we wonder what it's all about, those are the moments when we are grateful to have this precious community in which questions are treasured rather than seen as a threat, in which being loved is more important than being right. This precious resource belongs to you, you who have come of age. To come of age in a community means to acknowledge that these people are no longer children. They have earned the rights and responsibilities of adulthood. And though we can take steps as adults to ease their transition, we can no longer treat them as children. In the words of Antoine Saint-Exupéry, let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the meanings of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation. So if you don't already know these extraordinary young people, I encourage you to welcome them by name. We've given you their names in your order of service. And to encourage them in their spiritual growth, but also to find ways to invite them into full participation in the life of this church. And if you have come of age this year, I challenge you to accept that invitation. This church belongs to you. It's yours. It's not theoretically yours. It will not be yours someday. It is yours right now. And it is only what you make it. So live out your convictions and test your questions by taking part in this community. Let us make a vow in our hearts, not that we will be here for them and they will be here for us, but that we will all be here for each other. At this time, I would like to offer some thanks. First, to our coming-of-age teachers, Carrie Black, Caden Colton, Paul Kuttner, and Kristen Quinn. Thank you. To two extraordinary adults who have shepherded this process since the beginning of the year, a consummate religious education professional, Lissa Lander, and to Mary Elizabeth Mitchell, who has helped this group of young people raise money for their pilgrimage trip to Boston. To our mentors who missed Sunday service to come up and hang out with these wonderful people, thank you for your time. If you are the parent, the grandparent, or the important adult in the life of one of these young people, believe me, they are watching everything that you do and hearing everything that you say. And they are coming up behind you and making you very, very proud. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, to the students. These coming of age, now come of age students, thank you for working so hard this year. And let's look forward to Boston together. And now, it's a bit warm in here, so we're all going to go heat up with some hot coffee. We're going to dispense with our closing hymn today so that we can go out and welcome our younger children from RE. Thank you so much for being here today.